And those two teams are Arsenal and Manchester City, facing off in one of the biggest games in the Premier League this season so far, with two potential title contenders going head-to-head at the Emirates Stadium. And dude, what a result, what an atmosphere. Arsenal has come out on top versus Manchester City for the first time truly. I know they did it in the Community Shield, but truly in what is a meaningful game in the race for the title. Arsenal has defeated Manchester City. Has Arsenal officially overcome that mental dominance that Manchester City has had over them for so long? Or was this just a case of Manchester City missing some key players and guys like Rodri, guys like De Bruyne, that ultimately led to them losing away from home in a match that in some ways felt like they were okay losing?
I believe Manchester City was the last team that Arteta had not beaten in the Premier League. And I'm gonna go with you here. I do think this was breaking that inferiority complex that they had underneath Manchester City, bro. Even though it was a little ugly, they got the goal.
Yeah.
They got it. And along with that goal comes 3 points and a defeat over Manchester City. This was massive for Arsenal, I think, mainly from a mental perspective, because now they know they just beat their rivals last year that beat them, and they can beat anybody in the league now. So really, there's no excuse of, do Arsenal have the right players?
Yeah.
Do they have the right tactics behind the manager of Arteta? No longer can those questions be asked. It can happen. So now it's just up to Arsenal to actually go on and win the league themselves.
Yeah, dude, massive result. If you're a Gunner fan, you're definitely feeling yourself after this one. I definitely understand that point. I definitely see it. And I do want to highlight that because Arsenal fans deserve to have this moment. You finally did it. This is a big result you needed.
Huge.
In contention for a title race, especially against Manchester City. To be able to beat them like this and just, shut them out, get a clean sheet in the process is huge. On the other side, I feel like De Bruyne wouldn't let this happen, bro.
Yeah.
I feel like he wouldn't let this happen. This wouldn't slide on his radar, bro. Because I've seen him time and time again in these top 6, top 4 matchups that Manchester City gets year in, year out. That's when De Bruyne shows up. That's when he just shows that he's a class above every single other player on the pitch, and he has an impact. And it's just showcased why he's one of the greatest midfielders in Premier League history. That, along with the fact that Rodri has been such a huge, important part of Manchester City's success ever since he joined, and the fact that in the last 5 games, Manchester City has lost 2 games, and 2 of those losses came when Rodri didn't play. He is that important, that clinical for the team, and they are in a way almost a little bit lost when he isn't in that midfield, defending and slinging passes out wide so that he can really set up his wingers for success. So a part of me does think that this win came with a little bit of a caveat, but regardless, it's a win that was needed, and I will give them credit for that.
Yeah, I can't argue against that. Rodri has become just as impactful offensively as Gundogan was last year, but he has that defensiveness to him that is truly irreplaceable for Manchester City. You miss that when you don't have Rodri, truly. Rico Lewis can do as much as he can offensively, but there's some sort of defensive grit that I don't think he quite has, and I think you lose a little bit of that. Either way, though, this game was incredibly tight. I think Gary Neville put it perfectly. It was like a boxing match where the ref is just constantly trying to separate the two boxers, trying to let him play. This was a really interesting game, and I think credit mainly goes to Arsenal's defense. Gabriel and Saliba, I thought, were fantastic. Declan Rice was phenomenal in that midfield from a ball retrieval perspective. I think that's what really won them this game. A little bit of fortune at the very end with a deflection going into goal, knocking off of Ake's face. What a weird goal. Brutal, man. Brutal if you're Nathan Ake, man. So unlucky. But yeah, I think Arsenal just rode that wave of luck today, and they definitely got it, especially when you consider the absences of a player like Rodri and Kevin De Bruyne. And that's what's interesting about this match specifically, because it really wasn't what happened in the game. For me, it's the repercussions afterwards, man. Because
what's that?
Dude, all of the pundits, every European podcast right now, everyone's saying Arsenal's winning the league. Everybody.
That's how it goes around these parts,
come
bro.
on, man.
That's how it goes.
It's one game. City's 2 points behind.
Yes, bro.
They're right there.
And likewise, I'm seeing City fans losing their minds, talking about this ain't the same team we used to have. I'm like, bro, we're 9 games into the season. Relax.
Yeah, relax.
Apparently, I think the last time City lost 2 games in a row like this, where they lost against Wolves and they lost against Arsenal this past week, The last time they were in the same situation, they went on to win 18 of the next 19 games. Bro, relax. And even us, we predicted that they would go on to win the Premier League. I'm perfectly calm right now, brother.
I haven't changed my mind whatsoever.
Yeah, it's not changing. But still, I just think it's funny how reactive the Premier League and English fans can be at times, dude.
Dude, oh my God. I always forget how reactive they truly can be. I get it. We already said why this result was so big for Arsenal. But remember last year when Manchester City had a weird first 3 months in September, October, and November. And then they turned it on from December all the way to June.
Yeah.
So let's be careful here until it's like February.
Yeah,
if they're like 8 points off and 10 points off and it's March, then okay, yeah, maybe Manchester City have a really bad string of results. But for me, it's just way too early.
Way too early.
And more so, the Premier League is so stacked this year, bro.
Dude, I love it.
The top 6 are all within 4 points of each other. Ridiculous, bro. One of the craziest starts to the Prem I think we've ever seen.
Yeah, because there's genuine competition now. What was such a Manchester City-Liverpool type of duel for so many years, and then last year, Manchester City-Arsenal. This year, dude, I mean, we're talking about Arsenal winning the league, but they're in second place because in first place is Tottenham on goal difference. We have Arsenal in second. We have City in third, Liverpool in fourth, and right behind them we still have Aston Villa. We have Brighton. It's so close, but these teams, there's a genuine threat that they pose, which just kind of reminds me about what was your take before the season started, that you believed a lot of these teams outside of City were a year off. Mm-hmm. Do you still see that being the issue here between them and contending for a title, or does it seem like the timeline these teams are in has actually advanced a bit more than what you thought?
I still think the teams that are in contention for the title now can be much better. So we can get into detail later, but for example, Liverpool-Brighton, right? 2-2, I think a fully realized Liverpool wins that game.
And we have in the past when we've gotten over 90 points. Exactly. It was a frustration that we tied that game this past week.
Villa also tied this week. I still think they can play better. And so that's why I'll still stand by it. I do think a lot of these teams can actually reach a higher peak. And that's what's even crazier, because that the Premier League is on a trajectory to be an insane league. And already right now, even with these teams who have a lot of new players, they're still able to compete. That's just the brilliance of this fucking league, bro. It's beautiful.